continuing here, let's go look at the update item. At this point, you should have it already all done, because that was one of the little challenge for you, because the process of actually creating all of these CRUD operations is very similar and somehow a little bit boring. So if you feel like this is too boring for you, you can just go to the next video, or you can fast forward it. Okay, but in any case, I'll just continue here for those of you who just want something completed. Very good. So to update, we're gonna, of course, inquire our SQLite database here called DB get writables, because we're going to be writing to database again. Going to get our content views. In fact, this is going to be the same as when we create our database here. So I'm going to come up there, these content views, when we're adding something. You could refactor all of these methods, of course, but at this point, I'm just going to make it this way. So we have created our values content there, content values, and put all of the items inside of our rows. And now I'm going to go ahead and say update rows. In this case here, I'm going to say return, because remember, whenever we update something, we're going to return the ID of that row. So in this case here, I'm going to say db.update, invoke that method, constants.table name. I'm going to pass the values, and then I'm going to pass constants.key ID, right? Because we have to pass a key ID. And I'm going to say plus equal exclamation mark like that, comma, and then I'm going to pass the clause, which is going to be what is it that we are going to pass in the ID. Okay, so string, I'm going to put all in a string array. It's going to be string.value of, I'm going to pass the ID. Well, the ID here is actually going to come from our item. So I'm going to say item.getID. Okay, finish that one there. And again, there we go. So we don't have to return that. That just added that so that we don't have an error. So there we go. That was an update. Our delete is going to be simple as well. Sorry, SQL database db this.getWritables. And I'm going to say db.delete. I'm going to pass constants.table name as such. Say constants.keyID. I'm going to append the equal exclamation mark there, because we need to then pass our new string. And I'm going to pass again string.value of, and in this case, I'm going to just pass the ID, which is what we're passing there. We could have also passed the item object and then get it that way, but this is easier and simpler in that case. Very good. Of course, we don't have to return anything there, and we're going to go ahead and say close, so db.close once that is done. Very good. And of course, last but not least, the get count. So in this case, I'm going to create a query here. So string, call this count query is equal to select all from where? Well, our constants, that table name, like that. And then I am going to say SQL database, just invoke our DB, is equal to this, that get readables, because we are reading. And then I'm going to create a cursor is equal to db.raw query and pass our count query. Because I have to pass null there, because we don't need to pass any selection arguments. We're not selecting anything, we're just getting the count. And I'm going to return our cursor.getCount. And we are done, folks. Of course, we can get rid of this return there because we don't need that. Okay, there we go. So we have our get items count. We've added our delete item. We have created this update item. We have, of course, the big one, get all items from our database. And then we have the get item, just one item, and finally we get add item. There we go. So we are now done with our database handler here. In fact, we can just get rid of it altogether, get rid of these guys, and perhaps the pop as well, pop-up XML as well. Very good. And the item also. So at this point here, you should be very happy, celebrating. And of course, all of this stuff you should, by now, if you've been following us, you should know how to do that. But I just did that for completion, okay? So what we have to do now is actually go back to our application. this application here, and be able to add items. So now we want to make sure that when we say save, we actually add an item to our database. Eventually, when we say save, this is going to close, of course, and then it's going to show another view here, which will have then our row showing all of the items that we've been adding. All right, so at this point, I believe you can actually get that accomplished, at least being able to click and retrieve all this information. And when click save, we want to make sure that we close our alert dialog. And when that happens, we want to also save the item. So I think you can at least do that. Go ahead and give it a try, and I'll see you in the next video.